Hey everyone, welcome to the show. We're glad that you're with us today. Well, in the aftermath of the October 7th attacks, Israeli communities are in crucial need of security and medical supplies.
CBN's Brody Carter spoke with some of Israel's friends in America who are stepping up to keep the pipeline flowing.
There are roughly 270 small towns and communities with populations up to 1,000 residents scattered across Israel. You know them as a kibbutz, an agricultural hub that provides a societal norm unique to Israel. Many of them lost their sense of security when it was shattered by the recent terror attacks.
When you see a person walking with AK-47 between homes filled with children and infants, sleeping in their beds, we need to make sure that our communities are protected.
GoPro footage of Hamas gunmen attacking Israelis on October 7th shocked the world. As news of the terror spread, it triggered an effort among Americans to provide protective gear for vulnerable communities.
Our intentions is to help protect life, and that's why we're focusing on protective gear.
Tal is a former IDF soldier and Israeli American living in Atlanta, leading the effort. He hopes to raise $20,000 for protective gear like bulletproof vests, helmets, and other safety equipment to strengthen security of roughly 60 communities in northern Israel.
Fires tend to be a big problem once rockets fall anywhere, if it's agriculture areas or open areas.
The first 9-10 days of the war, we've actually transferred over $30 million.
According to Rabbi Weil, the U.S.-based nonprofit Friends of Israel Defense Forces uses donations and grants to help support soldiers by providing supplies like hygiene kits, plasma, field hospitals, and much more.
We believe there'll be 4 phases. Phase 1 is about $63 million. That's just to cover the basic emergency medical equipment.
As part of those upcoming phases, Weil says millions of dollars will go towards physical and emotional therapies for both soldiers and bereaved families. Amid a possible ground invasion of Gaza and with multiple enemies, supporters emphasize the importance of firmly standing with those defending Israel.
But it's not just Israel these young men and women are defending. Because if Israel falls, their next goal is Sunni Islam. They'll take over Mecca, take over Medina, the holy sites of Islam. But their ultimate goal, what they refer to in their terminology as the Great Satan, their ultimate goal is Western civilization.
But also for any person that sees that country, or specifically Jerusalem, as a place that is sacred and needs to be accessible, and we are willing to fight to protect it.
Brody Carter, CBN News.
Well, Victor Marks, president of All Things Possible Ministries, joins us now to share some updates. Victor, thank you so much for being with us today.
You bet, Ashley.
Well, you just got back from providing humanitarian aid to Israel, but you were apprehensive at first about visiting. What actually changed?
Well, you know, we've got a lot of experience in dealing with the results of terrorism and helping women and children. What we were hesitant about is we don't ever want to go into an area without access and placement or an invitation. And as we prayed, it was 72 hours later that we got both. So we took a team, we kitted up, and we got our supplies and headed right into the heart of it all. And actually, we started ministering to children who were living in these kibbutz, just as Brody's story talked about, and families. And I think it's very difficult for American people to understand just how savage and demonic these attacks were. And these kids are not sleeping at night, and there's thousands of them. So we were able to provide what we call our first level of trauma help, believe it or not, with lion and lambs. These are trauma tools that kids can actually hold. There's music that plays in them, Hebrew, in their language, prayers. So I'll tell you, these have been used all over the world. They're effective. And as one mom said, that's the first time my child smiled since the attack.
Wow, that's absolutely beautiful.
Well, Victor, you've got that tender heart, as we just saw. You're also a Marine. How do you think your background as a Marine has prepared you for this line of work?
Well, it's been a good fit. You know, my wife and I actually still have a home in northern Iraq. We've got over 130 missions to Iraq or Syria. When ISIS hit, that's when God called us into that. But we've been doing this for 20 years. So I think it's like the scripture Gordon prayed before the break. God calls us as Christians to be strong and courageous. And I'll just say this. This is a time where pastors in America need to stand up And for those pastors watching this, if you're too afraid to go to a school board meeting and stand up for our children who are being indoctrinated, don't think you're going to be some strong spine back when the enemy attacks us here in our homeland. And I can say this, having worked on the border all the way down to Colombia, there are very nefarious people in our country that are planning and will do small attacks that will affect our nation. Absolutely.
Well, Victor, you've been to Syria, Iraq, and Northern Africa. What similarities do you see happening in Israel that are similar to those other countries, and maybe what are some of the differences as well?
Great question. You know, evil is evil, and Hamas is, there's only one way to describe them. They're evil as, if not worse than ISIS. I have a pair of boots that I just told my wife this morning, I don't think I'll ever wear them again. And they're boots that I walked in children's blood and many houses in these kibbutz, and then also over the enemy, the dead enemy, Moscow attacked. Evil is evil. And if we remember that from a bird's eye view, I think it will cause us to pray. And that's what matters. Now, I'm going to tell you something, it's hard to believe. But before we deployed out on this one with our team, the Lord told me, get to the highest point you can and pray over Gaza. And I said, okay. So me and a fellow Marine, who's a Force Recon Marine, and we got a lot of experience jointly, a lot of battles he's fought in. We made our way to a very tall building overlooking Gaza. Probably had to pick some locks to get to the roof. But once we did, we actually prayed. We prayed over Gaza. And I will tell people at home, don't feel like you can't help. Prayer is essential in this battle against evil, plus things that actually matter. Body armor, helmets, we brought those we're connected to the special forces aspect of the IDF there because of our background. But believe me, these little lion and lambs are helping children, and people can help us get these out because we're just refitting and going back, but we're going to have about 10,000 more of these because it makes a difference for children, regardless of where we are.
Victor, may I ask you, because of your military background, do you see this becoming more of a global war, and this, you know, it's not going to end anytime soon? Do you see other nations getting directly involved and the battle just spreading wider and wider?
I do. I think it's going to be a long, hard battle. One of my buddies texted me this morning, and bad things happen as they were on this incursion into Gaza. They're built in. I've been into tunnels that help explain and give you perspective on how well fortified they are. And the money that's been spent, the humanitarian aid, money that has been spent by Hamas. And I will say this, I love Palestinians. I've been in these areas. We've ministered to thousands of kids before. But right now, I was told if I come into Gaza in any way, I'll be kidnapped or killed. So that tells me that the Palestinians who are being compressed by Hamas would rather the death of children than the freedom or help for them. And all this could be over if they stopped shooting rockets, if they released the hostages, and if they really brought forth the cowards that did this savagery. So, yeah, I think it's going to spread. I think America, well, I'll put in perspective. What happened on October 7th is equal to 2,500 fighters, Hamas fighters, coming through, say, the Tijuana, Mexico, U.S. border, and killing close to 35,000 Americans through San Diego up to Orange County. That's the equivalent of what happened there. And if people ask, I get asked all the time, how could this happen? Because they underestimated their enemy. And other countries and America needs to not underestimate what potentially is going to happen here, and many of us believe is because of the influx of very nefarious characters, over 2 million that have come into the U.S. already. And again, we've helped. We've ministered to those coming in, women and children, we understand. But there are very nefarious characters that have been allowed to come in the U.S. They're in cells, and trust me, they're planning attacks.
Well, Victor, the last thing we want to ask you before we let you go is what specifically can we be praying for you, your team, and your organization, but also what is your wisdom on how everyone can pray for the nation and the people of Israel?
Gosh, thanks. I would say this. If people went to our website, Victor Marks, with an X, victormarks.com, they can get on our email list, which is very active daily. We have a daily intelligence/inspiration brief that we send out, and it's current, up to the minute stuff when we're deployed out. And prayer matters. The second thing is, again, if they want to help get a trauma healing toy into a child's hand, not only the Israeli children, but also the Palestinian kids, we are going to be continuing this effort. And I would say this, people, don't be paranoid or fearful. God doesn't call us to do that, but be prepared. Understand your community, have neighbors and friends, that if some type of disruption or attack happens, you know, your friends are who you can trust, people who know medical, and never give up that Second Amendment right, because that's the saddest thing of all, seeing a safe house room where a dad had died because all he had was a 9mm pistol, and these savages came in and killed him and his kids. And I actually have the holster for his little 9mm, and I'll tell you, don't relinquish our right to bear arms. We earn that right. We need to keep it. And I pray to God that pastors in America will stand up for what's right and not be fearful any longer.
All right, Victor, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your perspective, your wisdom, and your compassion for people. God bless you.
God bless you all as well.
And again, as mentioned, you can go to victormarks.com for more information.
Hey everyone, I'm Ashley Key. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so we can reach more people with encouraging content like you just watched, and so you never miss a beat. See you next time, and God bless.